What is up, cupcakes? It's your boy Paperback Dan, and today I'm doing things a little differently. I made a liar out of myself 2 weeks ago now. Uh, didn't see me before the end of the year. Uh, Things got really hectically busy, and I ended up getting sick, which I'm still getting over. So if I sound like congested or nasally, I'm sorry. Um, but with that said, I'm going to go over last week's stuff. So, yes, today is New Comic Book Day after the first of the year, but I'm going to touch on what I picked up last week because I still went to my shop. I read all my books and I want to talk about them, and I also want to keep this string of videos going without missing any. Um, so, with that said, I know we're talking about last year's books. I hope you guys all had a happy new year, and I'm going to dive into it because I am kind of excited to talk about a few things. And first things first. So I'm breaking kayfabe a little bit here. I'm filming it today on the day that this video will be released, but since I'm doing last week's stuff, there were two books that I was shorted last week that DC did not send to my shop. So I'll touch those books first, because technically they're supposed to be part of last week's haul. So first things first, Deathstroke Inc. It's number 4. I still haven't read this book yet. I mean, it's one of the few that I haven't kept up with, but it just looks awesome. I haven't heard anything bad about it yet, so I'm going to keep pulling it, and eventually I'll start the book. The other one, which I think is kind of a big deal, and I wanted to show Connor, but he's been busy, and he's also been sicker than me. But the other one is Action Comics, number 1038. If you told me 5 years ago that I'd be pulling a Superman book, I would think that you're lying. But here I am in well, that book was from 2021, but here we are in 2022 with me still anticipating more issues. I'm pulling a Superman book, and I can't believe it. But this Mongol arc is really interesting to me. Connor kept going on about Superman and the Authority stuff, and that intrigued me, and then it led into Action Comics. So now I'm invested. I got the Superman and the Authority issues. I'm missing number 2, but shout out to Cupcake Ben, who is gonna hook me up with the second one. Now I'll have the full set, including the Batman special. I've got the other issues of Action Comics after Superman and the Authority up until last week's latest issue. So that's awesome. Can't wait to dive into it. With that said, those are the two that I was shorted. Those are the two that I didn't read because I got them today. First things first, for what I did read is Unborn number 4, and I've shown off every issue of this series so far, or at least like mentioned it, I should say. The series, I think, can be very hit or miss for people. It's described as being for fans of Alien and Power Rangers, and I get the comparisons. The Power Rangers one was kind of lost on me up until this issue. I don't know if that counts as a spoiler. I don't really think so, because it could be any number of reasons. But yeah, this series, it's by Frank Gogol. For those who do not remember, I've never read his work. This series is the first. I'm not gonna judge his whole writing ability based on this series. Certain parts of it were kind of lackluster, but at the same time, like, I was still pretty interested. What I didn't realize, though, is apparently this was the last issue, And I didn't realize that going into the book. It wasn't until I got to the last panel and I was like, wait a minute. I thought there were 5 issues. I knew that it was a miniseries. I just thought that there was going to be one more issue. And there's not, because the trade that comes out in February, I believe it is, only has issues 1 through 4, and it contains the entire series. So it's only 4 issues. I don't love how it ends, because not really much of a spoiler, but it sets up other things. If there's a sequel series of some sort, I'll pick it up because I'm curious. Overall, I won't go out of my way to recommend this to people, but if I said I didn't enjoy it, I'd be lying. Up next, from Behemoth, which is a publisher that I didn't hear of earlier than like 3 months ago, probably. So 2021 has put me on to so many publishers that I would not have ordinarily picked from. I mean, this Unborn book was from Source Point Press. I didn't know who they were before November, I think, or October. Same thing for Behemoth. This is Night Janik, #1. On the cover it says, "Instruction for making a proper offering to forgotten gods. A Jim the Knight adventure." I don't really know why that's on the cover, because the cover of the book, or the title of the book rather, is Night Janik. I don't know if that's how you'd pronounce it. It's Janek. But yeah, so this cover is actually really freaking cool. I don't know if putting it on this side would help make it more visible, but I really dig it. It looks all like cute, and I don't know what else to call it, but it looks like cute and bright. And the writer warns you that that's not the case for the story. So it might look like it's for kids, but it's not. So keep that in mind if that's something you are curious about. I really like the book. I want to know where it goes. I believe it's only 3 issues, or it's only going to be 3 issues. I enjoyed it, but it did feel like it was setting things up more so than anything. And the author says that it's, if Zelda and Conan had a baby, I believe is how he worded it. He might have said Link, but I don't know, since that's not possible. Yeah. But essentially, if those 2 franchises mixed, this is what that would be. I don't disagree. I think it's cool. I'm looking forward to where it goes. I hope there's more of it. These the creators on this book are Polish, and on the back, this isn't a spoiler, I promise. On the back, it actually has a little blurb at the bottom. I'm not expecting you to be able to read it, but it basically talks about how this book has existed since like 2006. He came up with the idea then, and what's shown on this back page is like a very similar frame by frame to something that happens in the book. So yeah, this guy's had this idea for 15-ish years now, and he's finally publishing it, which I think is pretty awesome. I mean, there's only 3 issues. I hope there's more. We'll see. The book is really good looking aesthetically. And if there's a sequel series or whatever, I'll probably get it, even if it's just for the art. Excuse me. I told you I was sick. So That's two books. Technically, I got five, but apparently one of them should not have been sold to me, so I'm not going to show it, and I'm not going to out anybody. But yeah, a book came early, or earlier than it should have, so my fifth book will remain unmentioned from last week. This book, though, it's called A King's Vengeance. It's from Scout Comics. All these, like, companies that I'm not familiar with continue to have creators who I'm also not familiar with, so I don't even try to say their names or anything like that. But this book, I I got it on a whim because I like checking out these random ass books. And I don't regret it, but at the same time, if I wasn't so curious about what happens next, I wouldn't even think about getting a second issue because nothing happens. The whole issue is just a lot of nothing, and it looks visually like it's an Adult Swim cartoon. Like, that's how some of the art is, and that's not my thing. But other parts of it look okay. It's mostly the people that I'm not really, like, digging. And yeah, it just, a whole lot of nothing happens in this issue. Like, when people, like the old joke, when people would say, oh, tell me a story, and then you would be like, oh, there once was a rabbit and it died. That is how I would describe this book. Like, it's not a spoiler, I'm not saying characters die, anything like that. It's just like that's what happens. Like, it's literally that simple. This guy walks into a building and then he leaves. That's it. And if there wasn't like some, I mean, and there is a hook at the end, it's not enough to grab me. What is grabbing me is the fact that I'm so dumbfounded that this little can happen in a single issue and still get published. So, like, I want to read the next issue because, like, this can't be it. Like, they're, oh my god, I can't even, yeah, I can't fathom it. So yeah, the sheer disbelief is what's getting me to buy a potential second issue. Ugh. I'm like randomly losing my voice now, but I'm doing this in one take, so I don't care. The last book, and my pick of the week, because this book is so fun. It's Good Boy, another book from Source Point Press. It is by Garrett Gunn and Christina Blanche with art by Kit Wallace. This was the book, if you'll remember, that I said was basically John Wick, except the roles got reversed with the dog. The owner died. Now the dog is going to go on a killing spree. And this book is a straight up, I don't want to call it a ripoff because that sounds disrespectful because of how much I liked this book so far. But I mean, it is. It is a ripoff. There's so many things that they borrow from the John Wick franchise, which I'm okay with because this book is really fun and I love John Wick. So I'm not going to complain. They could rip it off completely. If it's entertaining, I'm going to have a good time. But yeah, this, and I really like Nick Bradshaw has been doing the covers. Next month's one also looks really good. It's a 3-issue series, so Unfortunately, next month rather, is already the finale, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it's cool. I'm really enjoying this series for the 2 issues that I've had with it so far. Definitely pick of the week. It's just, it's bonkers fun. Like the art is a little different. Like it's kind of silly, but it's good. The book is just, it's so good. It doesn't care. It's very much itself. And once it gets collected, I will definitely be picking it up in trade paperback, of course, because that's what I do. With that said, that's it for me. My cover of the week was going to be the book that I'm not going to talk about, so I will leave it at that. I will be back tomorrow with today's books. So, yeah, with that said, Happy New Year. Sorry for getting this video out so late. Like I said, busy week. My health is not at its best. As you can see, can barely talk, which just started happening within the last hour. But yeah, I'm happy to be back. Tomorrow will also be another good video. Got some stuff I'm excited to talk about. And yeah, so with that said, I'll see you guys next week. Peace.